Good evening, model railroaders, and welcome back to the Second Section podcast, where it's just regular folks talking about model railroading. I'm your host, Andy Dorsch, and joining me this evening is my co-host, Mike Ostertag. Mike, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I am upright and taking nourishment, so I can't complain. And we got
that's better than the alternative.
Yeah, right. Getting my mail from a gopher, right? That's the alternative, right? So, in the studio this evening, we have Matt Herman from 3D Central with us this evening. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Andy. How are you guys doing tonight?
I am very excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. So before we do the full intro, I had to get myself a napkin because Matt was showing us some of the models that he had here behind, essentially, that he's going to be brandishing tonight, and I was very, very impressed. So I'm doing great.
F unit. I don't know why everybody's excited about it. I mean,
the F unit.
Another F unit. I mean, who cares about an F unit?
Nobody cares about an
That's
F
all
unit.
we want to do is F units. We're going to get rid of everything else.
That's right. That's right. So Matt, this is your first time on the Second Section. So first of all, welcome. And for those who don't know who you are, would you care to give us a bit of an intro about yourself, the stuff that you do in model railroading, and you can even talk about your layout if you got one.
Well, actually, I just got into the hobby a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Just start.
It's a good start. You're off to a rolling start. Okay.
No, I've, gosh, I don't remember a time when I wasn't into it. My father was into it big time, when I was born, and he belonged to the Lower Anthracite Model Railroad Club. I can remember going there from like age 5 on and helping to get that going. That's around Shamokin, Pennsylvania, it's right downtown in Shamokin, Pennsylvania now. But above the library there, if anybody knows where that's at. But we've been one of the founding members there. Actually, we haven't been back in a while. We need to get back down there. But and my brother came along. He and I are 12 years different, so there's a little bit of an age gap there. So I have a daughter who's came later in life, and she's a surprise. And I always tell him he's an crap. But he was bit by the bug too. Yeah. So my father's chief mechanical officer for the North Shore Railroad he was that for almost 20 years now. Fortunately, he's passed on now, but he really got us into trains in every aspect of things. So we'd go rail fanning all over the country. Big into model railroading. So and of course he worked for the railroads. So we can, I can remember having to take permission slips into school or absent notes into school saying I was sick when we were going down after the 611 on excursion trips and stuff like that. He didn't like those excuses later on in life when I did it, but I learned it from watching you, Dad.
Yep. So you could say so you got started at a very young age, not only just with models, but being around the prototype then.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, everything train related. I ate, slept, and breathed it for as long as I can remember. High school, I started working for English's Model Railroad Supply, which was Bowser's retail arm. They had a store in town in Montoursville or right near Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And I was working summers up there and went to the Marine Corps, came back out, ended up with Crohn's disease. So after that, I was, looking for a job here and there. And things started to get pretty bad, and I had to be out of work for a little while because of some surgeries and such, and started figuring out how to make ends meet. And so I started doing some custom painting. And Lee English asked if I'd be interested in building a whole bunch of Bowser steam locomotive kits. Luckily for me, his father was still around, and he taught me all the ins and outs of building those kits, all the tips and tricks. I sat right next to him as he taught me all this stuff.
Cool.
Got a couple done. He's like, You want to build 150 a year? Nope. No way. I said, but if you want, you can put my name on your website, and I'll custom build them for people as they order. I'm kind of a detail guy, so when it come to doing steam, everyone was piped a little different, and I wanted these guys to come up with an engine number, and I would do that steam engine, and it just kind of went from there. Next thing you know, I was the project manager for Bowser. I did that for
Really?
7 or 8 years. Yeah. So all the executive line locomotives, that all happened during my tenure there. At the beginning, that's how it started, I should say. But
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of their artwork at the time, and I was there when we kind of went to ready to run. And I hired ESU and fired ESU, and then later on, I went back and started to go to work for ESU. So then I spent my last 13 years running that company. And then I got ESU back into Bowser again. So that thing really went full circle.
Oh, wow.
So I did that. And then at the beginning of last year, we just kind of went our own separate ways. And now I'm doing some 3D printing. So decided to kind of make a living at it. And Alec and I both, my brother, still with me. He was there at Bowser with me. He was there at ESU with me, and now he's doing this. And he started his own design company because I don't know how to design. I'm too stupid for that. But
Come on.
I can make messes in Fusion, but I'm not good at it by any means. I'm just not efficient enough. I can find my way around in it, but
Right.
but I can. Seems I can print. I figured that part of it out, and I
There
had
you
a
go.
couple months to kind of figure out, just the ins and outs, and spent a lot of time learning and watching YouTube videos and failing and failing and failing and failing and failing on prints, and finally, something would work, and so okay, well that works. Let's try this, and slowly it got up and running, and now it's just exploded. So we never expected to do what we're doing. Alec and I were just gonna create a few designs and sell them under our own brands and just sell our own kits. And um, Jason Miller from Scale 3D Productions over in Australia, he uh, he is a ready modeler in Australia and doing a lot of
Okay.
design work in 3D printing. So
Yeah.
So for the first half of the year last year, I was helping out Alec, who I had set up with a good friend, John Whitmer from Caslo Shops. So I am a BC modeler. I model the British Columbia. Alec's a D&H modeler. So, and I kind of have it in the back of my mind too, that I like the D&H a little bit. We tease who has the better lightning stripe all the time. And I know it's the D&H, but don't let any of my BC followers hear that. So
You didn't hear that here. You didn't hear that here. It is a cool lightning strip.
I like them all. So no. But definitely don't let my brother hear that. Man, I'll never hear the end of that.
Yeah, right. Right.
But no, I was helping him build some kits and just testing them as he was designing them for John at Caslo, and it's all BC stuff. I asked him to make stuff for me, and then he helped get the design to John and add them to his line. And this Jason from Australia, he saw what we were doing. He says, I'm doing all this redding stuff, but I live in Australia. My market's in Eastern United States for the most part. Obviously you guys can print. Is there any way that you guys could print for me? It took me about 13 seconds to realize, light bulb went off, and it's like, maybe that's what I need to be doing right now. It's instead of, I can't design quickly and efficiently. So, that ship I think has sailed. So if I want to kind of go this route, I got to find another way to do it. And maybe I can help a lot of the basement guys. And I don't say that in a negative connotation at all, but there's a lot of guys that have a day job. They bought a 3D printer, and they know how to design, or they're figuring it out on their own. And the idea was just to add stuff to their own layout, but they've made some cool stuff. And now they look at that and think, well, I can sell that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mike, right?
Yeah.
Right here.
There you go. Yeah. So a lot of these guys, they've gotten started and they think, well, I want to start a business. I'm making it. I might as well sell it. And they get into it and they realize, that's a lot of work. And,
Yeah.
I've got to source packaging now. I got to make instructions. I've got to source if we're going to do etchings or mechanisms or couplers or wheels or any of that stuff. Then I got to deal with the customers. I got to make a website. I got to do all these things. And, I started doing this because I wanted to add my own layout, but now I don't have any time to work on my own layout. So, and
That's the way it always goes, right?
yeah. So I thought, I've got the resources just from experience that, I can source all of these things. I can work with the public. I know how to sell things. I know how to do shows and get the advertising and the word out. So maybe this is the route to go. So we developed a website and we put it out there to a few guys that were doing some printing. And now we're up to nearly 25. I think we're at 24 different designers that we're working with. A lot of different, their own little brands. Some of them have been developed already. Some of them haven't really put too much out there yet, but we've got a lot more coming for them. And then on top of it, I've put out a couple of my own cars. Now, I'm not doing the design work, admittedly. Alec at Bridgeline Design is doing most of my design work. It's my brother, but the side slider that we've done, if anybody is aware of it, I think it was on your show. Just last time you had an episode here.
Yeah, with Bob
Rivard and William Sampson and those guys. William did a beautiful MN&S car up. He sent me some pictures and everything. So,
yeah.
So yeah, we've got a whole list of brands, and some of them aren't even on the website yet. We're working with people in just about every scale now, aside from some TT and Z scales. So,
wow,
there's an awful lot of product, and so here we are. I started in August of last year, doing research. By October, we went live, and now the 6th of February, I've got employees, and we're getting ready to expand. We started with 4 printers. We're up to 28.
What?
Sorry, Mike. I should have said that when you weren't drinking.
Wait, did you say 28?
For now, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've got some of the OEMs kind of reaching out to us. We got a couple of the other ones a little worried.
Yeah, right.
It's the new thing, and
right.
In my opinion, it might be the next thing. So there's a lot of potential in this type of technology.
So before we get carried away here talking about 3D Central, I do want to just make a quick plug here. So what Matt's talking about is I got his website that's down in the show notes, as well as all of the brands that are on his website. So I added all of those as well. So make sure that you're going and checking those people out. But I got to say, I have that Evans slider, and we can talk about it later in detail. But this baby is quite a nice model. So once we get to talking about the models themselves, they're superb. So I do want to make a plug for that as well. Hashtag not sponsored, of course. So yeah, and then that's right, Mike. Our friends here at Around the Layout say, Ray's like, Mike went to get paper towels to clean up his spit take there with the 28 printers. So
I have paper towel right next to me.
Yeah. So I think so that's a fantastic introduction, Matt. And first of all, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to meet with us this evening. But you have quite the, I guess you could say, model railroadings in the blood, and it's just very cool to see you build this type of business and essentially continue to propagate that passion in the hobby. So thank you again for doing that. But what did you want to share for us this evening? I think we had a couple items, possibly a shop tour.
Yeah, we'll do that. One thing I will mention real quickly, just to kind of touch on where we were before, but I'm one of those basement guys too.
Really?
One of the reasons that we're into 3D printing is because I'm a BC modeler and I needed wood chip cars. So that's kind of how Alec and I got started, and it was a wood chip car. and an NSC wood chip car, kind of a
Yep.
particular one. Actually, here's one of the first ones we did. This one's been to a few shows, so it's beat up a little bit, but
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
I'm so worried that's a live load, and one of these days somebody's going to pick it up at a show to look underneath it, and we're going to have a heck of a mess.
I love the Pacific Great Eastern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these cars used to be available from Fraser Valley, and they were a poured resin kit, and they got really really hard to find. And there's a few of us that knew they were around, and we'd always kind of go after them on each other. And so we thought, well, what a good project. We have a couple 3D printers. Let's see if we can figure this out. And that's kind of what we learned a lot on. What worked and what didn't work, and it's and then one of the other things I wanted was a double door Evans 5450, and
Oh yeah.
we kind of did those simultaneously. There's the final result of that.
Oh, that's a cool looking model.
Oh yeah.
So Matt, so you got the 3D printer essentially as a necessity to help fill some of the void in the rolling stock and equipment that you had wanted for your own layout. Is that right?
Right.
And
So, and in doing that, we were in that same boat. We were going to design for ourselves. And well, now that we have the stuff, we might as well see if anybody else wants it. So I understand fully, the design partners we have. I'm in the same boat. I was there too. I wanted more things for my own layout. And, what we're finding with this is that there's a lot of products that we can do in 3D printing that we're just never going to see in plastic. The quantities that are needed to do injection molding just aren't going to be there. But we can, if we print 100 of them, I mean, that's a pretty good run of a lot of this stuff. And, we'd never be able to pay for the injection molded parts to do that in a full ready to run kit. But in 3D printing, we can design it and print one if we want. We want to make a change and do another version, no tooling costs. So we can, make a couple little drawing edits, and now we've got something all new. So
that's really fantastic. So you started out as a necessity. What was the learning curve for you like then? So was it a thing that just flipped on and you were able to produce stuff right away, or did it take a couple years?
no, I mean, Alec really was the one that kind of pushed it. I was really a little too busy at the time.
Sure.
Um, I was running the other companies, and it got to a point where I was pushing him. It's like, oh, I'd really like to get this done. I'd really like to get this done, and he was like, well, just learn to draw, and you can get it done. So,
Right.
I would spend a little time learning, and then I'd get away from it because other responsibilities, and then I'd come back and I'd have to start all over again because I couldn't really remember what I was doing last. And each time I might remember a little more, but that's where if I spent 24 hours a day drawing, I'd probably do okay. I mean, it's kind of in my wheelhouse for the things I like doing, but um, there was just so many other things, so I just wasn't able to do it on my own. But Alec
Sure.
was getting better and better. Learning more and more. And, then we started working with John from Caslow, and he started sharing some of the tips about printing that he had learned. And that gave me a good boost. If I didn't have John, really helping me and showing me there at the beginning, I definitely would have struggled a lot more. He helped me with learning how to do some supports that I had never supported anything before August of last year. So, I mean, it's just totally fresh. And now with the help of John and some others and just some of the other things that I've learned and figured out on my own, that support structure that we have, it makes or breaks us. I mean, I can take all the
Sure.
supports off of a car cleanly in about 30 seconds, rather than sitting there and clipping and getting around different things. Now, it doesn't happen every time, but in the main structure of a lot of what we're doing now, that's a big difference when you're looking at doing production versus just a piece or two. And that's the mindset that I come from. I worked in, multiple manufacturing companies in model trains. So my mind's always thinking, well, I got to mass produce. I gotta come up with a way to do this efficiently. I can't afford to do a couple at a time here. So as time went on, that's what my focus was.
Wow, that's awesome. So So if you guys have questions, and SP Steve, thanks for tipping the order here to us. But if you guys have questions, throw them out into the chat tonight. I'll make sure to get them out in front of Matt. Apologies there just for the little bit of segue. So, but that's I guess that's really really interesting. I'm trying to think of a good follow up here. Mike, go ahead.
Do you see, having worked with Bowser in the past and seeing the way that side of the hobby's production is done, now being in the 3D world and seeing and being knee deep, hip deep, neck deep into that type of
Over my
production,
head sometimes.
over your head, over sometimes. Do you see? Do you think that at one point manufacturers will simply say, for $175 or $200, here are all the files you need to print this locomotive? And if you want to buy the files and have like a regulation on the files where it's like you have to, if you want 5 of them, you have to buy 5 files. Each one will have its own like ID number to it, so it's only like a one-off print. You know what I mean?
I suppose that's a possibility. If you could do a lockout somehow. The problem with a lot of that kind of stuff is people will find ways to hack it. So I don't see that happening quickly, but I could see the potential of something like that as more and more people have 3D printers. Now, since they don't, that's another service that we do sort of offer. I don't focus on that side of it. Now, one of the companies that I'm working with is Train Kitchen. And if you don't know who that is, that's Sarah Griesenbach, and I probably pronounced her last name terribly wrong. So if Sarah's watching, I apologize. Sarah is from Austria, and she is a phenomenal modeler. She's an O-scale modeler in the 50s era, and American prototype. But we're working on a couple projects together. But a lot of the files that she puts out are free. She designs and develops this stuff for her own use, and then puts the files out. But recognizing that not everybody has a printer, I've offered to work with her to create an ability for those that don't, they can still pick up the parts. Now, obviously I can't do it for free because it's resin, time, and cleaning and shipping and all that. But it's a way for those items to get out there too.
So with that, here's a good follow-up question. Roger Moses actually asked this, and this is kind of one I'm curious about too. What slicer programs do you guys like to use? Like personally, I use Cheetahbox.
And that's more often than not, that's what I use. I have Cheetahbox Pro and Lychee Pro and Prusa, and I've got a couple of them. Just depends on what I'm doing a little bit, but I would say, just simply because that's what I started with, I know Cheetahbox better than Lychee. I know there's guys that just swear by Lychee and say it's better.
It's kind of a Ford Chevy thing.
More than that, it sort of is. There are a couple tools that one has that the other doesn't, and one of the reasons I like I use Prusa is because it understands if something's drawn at a different scale. It'll recognize that and convert it for me. I don't have to figure out if it's drawn in millimeters versus inches or something. It'll automatically see that.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I just save it after I converts it, and then I just open it again in Cheetahbox, and everything's as it should be. So, but so it's mainly the business model is essentially has turned into me being, a developer of model kits of our own to an umbrella that has helped, a lot of different designers get their kits to the market. Some of them that have been in the works for a year or two that it just gets stalled out because they couldn't figure something out. What's the next step? I can't figure out how to source this, or I don't know what to do with this. And, nobody was really there to help, and they didn't know who to ask. So, our business is available to help these kits to see the markets.
So
Some of them are excellent kits. They just didn't know how to make that next step.
So if I were to maybe throw an analogy out there, you're kind of like the Walthers of 3D print models for model railroading.
Essentially, another one that
Yeah,
I've heard is like I'm a record label, and I'm helping artists to get their songs or their art into the market. So,
yeah.
Jerry Schaefer, Hunter Houston, as many know, that's what he likened it to. So,
Oh,
thought that was a
that's
good one.
really cool. So you not only are you doing, I guess, the help for these brands, then, but you're also working with like the bigger OEMs like Bowser, right?
I am. I do a lot of prototyping for the manufacturers, and again, it was kind of my history. I had good relationships with all of our. At one time, they were our customers. Now, I guess they are again in a different way. But I've always in my previous position, I built that business a handshake at a time. To me, everything was about relationships, and now that's paid off a little bit because these guys are still friends. They understand my passion and my focus towards things, and I them. So, I have good friends in most of those companies, and it's been nice to be able to continue to work with them. So, go ahead, Mike. It looks like you have a question.
Well, I do. I actually, it just, I tell you what, it's fascinating me. And one of the things, because I have a 3D printer over here,
Sure.
and you won't be able to see it because I have it in an enclosure. But I mean, how does doing prototyping for a manufacturer, how does that help to translate with how their tooling gets processed? Like, so does their design process on the computer, like we've all seen what, like the multicolor 3D designs, when you 3D print that, is that a mock-up of what their computer tooling is supposed to look like?
So basically, it's twofold. So originally, 3D printing, or also known as rapid prototyping, that's sort of what it was designed for originally. I mean, it was at least a very good use for it, and it still is. It's still used this way a lot. But so they'll take the drawing of the final piece, and there's CAD programs, computer aided drafting programs, and then there's CAM programs, computer aided machining programs. So those usually convert the drawing itself. They basically convert it into the tool making process. So that'll then show you how to cut the tools to make what it is that your final piece is going to be. Run your EDMs and your milling machines and all that kind of stuff. So we don't need any of that stuff. So once we get the drawing done to say, okay, this is what the final piece is going to look like, that's the next step for us. So from there, I can then take those step files or whatever type files they are, and I can convert it into an STL or 3MF or whatever file type the printer likes. A print ready file, I guess we'll call it. Like when I got let me see here. Here is the Bowser SD40-2W. And when I got this file, everything was there. So in the ditch lights, the LEDs were even drawn in. The cab lights were in there. The cab interior is in there. Everything was here. So I turned off what I didn't think I would print, like the cab glass, because I didn't want that to be solid. I turned those off in the drawing and then just printed the body. Now, this one even had the brake chain on the back here, but it got broke off. I'm not sure who broke it off, but actually, I have a good idea who broke it off, but I won't throw them under the bus. So.
Preserve the names of the innocent.
I used to refer to them as hammer hands because you just didn't grab things lightly.
Yeah, greasy meat hands.
Yeah.
But this is I don't know. I get impressed every time I do anything on the printers. But this one really got me. If you look at the winterization hatch here, the grill work is there, and it printed really well. There's a couple tiny holes at the top there you can see, but
Oh,
for the most part, that's all there, and
Look
it
at the
printed
grates
fairly well.
on the
Um,
fan housings.
yeah,
oh
all the fan,
no.
everything's there. The fan blades are inside there in the back. A little hard to see here with my light, but
And
You
that's
got it.
an HO scale, right?
yes, this is HO scale. So an S and O, obviously, it'd even be better. All the grab irons are here and printed on. The handrails are here. Even the piping for the air hose that all came, or for the bell that all came in. There's even windshield wipers in the front of the glass here.
Right.
So,
And
uh,
So
the
how many
sunshades and all that stuff.
so how many back and forths do you go through with doing that for somebody before they sign off and say, you know what, we got it. This is right, exactly what we want.
Well,
So,
as I mentioned before, this was twofold. So these I really printed off more so that they could have them for the Springfield show. So that sometimes you just can't get the tooling out quick enough, but you want to show the public what it's going to look like, and this is a good representation. Now there might be some small you know changes if they find a mistake here. It's a lot easier, and I'll speak from experience of this from working at Bowser. Um, if you get something tooled up and they send you a 3D drawing to look at, you can twist that all around on the screen and you can see what it looks like. But when you're holding that in your hand and you can examine it real close and see things from angles that it's just easier to get a real good
Amazing.
feel of what that
yeah.
is. You can catch mistakes easier. It just I don't know. There's a difference to it than looking at a 3D drawing. So that's the major reason that I like to have a 3D print as a prototype. The other side of that is this was printed as a one piece print. Some of that was just to see if I could.
Yeah. It turned out pretty darn good.
There's a little of that, but
That's not
um,
bad.
so the the other thing that often happens is we'll print the parts separately and see how they fit together. So that way they fit in the finish and you can see, oh, those pins aren't going to be long enough to really grab. That's going to be a problem in handling, once that model's done. We can do that here with this, see exactly what it's going to be when the tooling is correct. That doesn't mean they'll make the
Right.
tooling correct. It's just, but
Right.
it's what it should have been. And which also gives you something to compare it to later on. You say, okay, well, this is what we printed. This is what you gave us. There's an error here. You need to fix this. So there's a lot of reasons to do this, honestly.
So then, as far as, because I work in product development myself, so is this a tool then to essentially help define the build requirements for these as they go to have tooling done up and that type of stuff? I think you kind of answered it already, but
I would say for sure. It just from there you can paint some up. You can see are your decals going to fit if you're going to add decals to it or
That's a
things
good
like
point.
that.
Yeah.
That's how I would use it in this terms. Now, ready to run models don't often get decals, but honestly, with the C415, Bowser is talking about doing some undecorated kits with decals for the lesser road names.
Oh.
They can't afford to do 250 of a road name that might only sell 100, but they could do 100 undecorated kits and provide you with decals.
Like
So
that.
we're
That's a
talking
lot.
about doing
That's a really
a
good
little bit
idea.
out of the box things to get some of that stuff done. So we could test all of that on this before the tooling's actually complete. Yep, that's not the SD40-2 anymore.
What's this?
So this is the new Bowser C415. Same exact concept as I had on the SD40-2. Printed it up for the show, but in this one, now actually there was a difference in the 40-2 as well, but I only had the one with me here at home. But there's 4 different versions of these. There's SP versions, there's high cabs, there's low cabs. So there's, here's the demonstrator with the different radiator, different
Oh my
fan on there.
goodness.
You You got multiple exhaust stacks on here, which my hands are probably covering on these two. But
what's Split Rock gonna do? I mean, this guy's been begging for a C415 for ages, and now he has multiple versions he can choose from.
I know, right?
Well,
Split Rock, if you're out there tonight, you got to let us know which one you're going after.
I don't know why you stop with one personally, but
there you go. Maybe get all four.
Yeah, here we go. There we go.
Shut up and take my money.
Take my money.
Okay, Matt. So I think this is a good. Oh, go ahead.
Just real quick on the C415s.
Yeah.
So there's 3 versions of that cab, and the tooling on that gets pretty expensive because you got cab glass and you got different heights and ways things fit together. So the other thing that can be done with 3D printing, since it is basically an exact science, you're going to get the same measurements consistently overall. Obviously, different printers, there are some tolerance issues that you want to watch, your angles, stuff like that. But now Bowser, who probably wasn't going to do the very lowest cab height version on that, now I've offered to work with him so that I can print up cabs for him because he doesn't need that many of those. And now all of those can be available because there's no reason why you can't mix injection molded plastic with 3D prints. So that's the other reason and there's your first step into having 3D printed parts in ready to run models. So it can happen. And that's a whole segue on its own, bringing this stuff into the ready to run market. So, which something I'm looking at extremely hard.
And talking about C415 Diesel Era, I just got this in the mail. So Diesel Era has come out with their newest era from White River Productions and our buddy Tony Cook. They came out with the part 1 of a series for the Century 415s. So if you're looking to get a 415 from Bowser or whoever Matt is working with, working with, feel free to look this up. It's really Diesel Air is a good hashtag, not sponsored. This is a really cool amazing reference magazine. I think I'm missing 10 out of the entire series.
That whole lineup that White River puts out, though, with was it Railroad and Railfan?
Yeah.
Model Railroad News, Craftsman, all good publications.
White River's really done a great job, and they do a lot for a lot of historical societies too, if I remember right. So
Matt, there's been a flurry of questions coming in from the chat. So if you would be such a good sport, we'll do a little lightning round here.
And I'm only doing 3. That's it. No.
That's okay. Then I'm going to pick the worst one.
No. As many as you got. I'm here all night.
Okay. So I guess I'll go back up a little bit here. There was a technical question I think Robert Gleitz asked. It says, is there any longevity issues with the resin printing? Does it become brittle over time?
So the resin that we're using, there's and he already kind of knew this, I'm guessing, but there's multiple types of 3D printing. You have FDM printing, and that's like a roll of plastic or filament that it gets extruded through a hot end, and then that'll build going around. So the head of the printer actually moves as it builds the piece. What we're doing is, we have access to one of those. Alec has a Prusa FDM printer. We use that quite a bit. Actually, I just took this off. This is a little tool that Alec created. Basically, it just holds. We go to a lot of shows, and it fits onto the bottom of the axle. And we painted the bottom of it with Plastidip. And as I put that on a piece of plexiglass or something to display it, that'll hold everything from sliding around. So that's some of those types of things. We'll use that type of printer. But for the high amounts of detail that we want to use in these models, we use a resin printer. And a resin printer is a vat of liquid resin. I'm just dumbing this down for everybody. So I'm sure many of you guys already know. It's like a tablet that lays underneath this vat, and it lights up little pixels of UV light, and it gets put into a slicing software like we were talking about, like Chitubox, and that separates every layer, and it tells that layer which UV light pixels to turn on that layer. And you have a head that comes down from the top, and it keeps going down to the bottom of the vat. Those lights light up. It lights up the thickness of the layer of what you're printing. It lifts up, lets liquid resin back in, and the head goes back down. Those UV lights light up, and it solidifies that layer, and it just keeps building that way and building that way. If you can see my logo here, that's sort of what the UV resin printer looks like. It just keeps going down and building. Here you've got your supports that hold everything in place. And I'll show you the here. We'll do a little shop tour later on, so we can explain a little bit of that more. But so the question is longevity, and with the Prusa and those types of printers, there are a lot of different types of materials. Some of them last a long time, some of them don't. Some of them don't like sunlight, some of them don't mind sunlight, got flexibility issues. What we're doing, obviously, it cures with UV light. So the more UV light that it's exposed to, it's going to continue to cure. And the longer it cures, the more potential for brittleness that you can have. Again, you have different flexibilities with resin. You have different ways that they cure. The resin that I use, it's got a pretty good longevity. I do a pre-cure on it, and then we put it in a dark box. And in every set of instructions that we create, one of the first things we say is, if you want to look at it, if you get it out of the box, take a look at it, and then put it back in the box, because really you don't want it exposed until you're ready to do your building. Get it built. As soon as it's built, prime it. So stop that UV light from hitting that piece, and that'll protect it against continual hardening and brittleness.
Right. First step on their instructions, right here, number 1. So they say it's important, so keep it out of that UV light until you get it primed.
So, here's a pretty good example. I actually, I didn't cure this. This was taken out at the show. I got it printed, I don't know, very early on, I guess it would have been Thursday night before Springfield. And it was still on the supports when I got to Springfield. I actually didn't take it off the supports till Sunday morning because I forgot that it was in the boxes. So I took care of it at the show. I had it already. I've not cured this yet. But because it's not been cured, I can still flex all the handrails. It's got a little bit more flexibility to things. And once I cure this, that is going to get harder. Now, I won't cure this a real long time to begin with, because all I want to do is kind of off-gas it. But then as soon as I'm ready, normally, as you can see with the C415s, which were done earlier in the night, just color difference, I prime these. So now these will hold that flexibility a little bit better, and they'll pretty much stay that way. I've got ones that I did in September. Don't have it within reach, I don't think, unfortunately. Oh, well, wait. No, I don't. Sorry, but that's still flexible because it is I covered it. I stopped the UV light from being able to make it continually get hard. So long story short, if it's handled properly, you should continue to have a good bit of flexibility for quite some time. The brittleness that you definitely can get is coming from curing. If you don't over cure it ahead of time and you cover it up to stop it from continuing to cure, you should be pretty good shape. It's not ABS. It's not regular plastic like the rest of your models are. You do have to be a little bit more careful with it in that regard, but you're going to have some pretty good luck with it. So.
Oh, that's good. So speaking of shows and all that, I know you're just coming off the world tour from Amherst and Timonium, right?
Yeah.
But Titletown Rail Productions is asking, are you going to be at the St. Louis RPM?
Absolutely. So the shows we have set up at the moment, and this could change by adding, we're going to be we're going to be at the O Scale show in Chicago in the middle of March, and we have quite a bit of O Scale that we're going to be bringing and displaying. We're going to be working with Coursera on a project for a full kit. This is not it. This is a Bridgeline design car of the X54 that we're getting ready to release in HO scale. We're going to be doing this in O scale, and we thought about doing it in S scale, but I was told that nobody models S scale, so there really wasn't any reason to. So now I'm on the big screen and we can't see Mike crying. So
no, I didn't want to embarrass him in front of the section crew. So, but yeah.
No, we plan on doing a lot of the cars that we're doing in HO scale and S scale for sure, and a good number of them in O scale. I'll show you again on the shop tour later. We've got some big Elegoo Jupiter machines that can print some pretty large stuff. So we do plan on some S and some O scale for sure. So after Chicago, we have. I'm not sure if we're going to make it to Denver for the Rocky Mountain Show.
Ooh, come on, I'm going.
Probably next year. Well, I got a family, and I don't really want to be out too often. It's not even. I mean, it is that, but I got a lot of stuff to print. So we'll have that. What am I going to do? Probably, certainly the Bridgetown RPM the end of the year. I am going to make it to the Malvern or Valley Forge RPM. I wasn't going to be able to. Some plans changed, so I will be there. That's coming up in March as well. I think that's the weekend after Chicago. The New England prototype meet will be there. I might go to the Mid-Atlantic prototype meet. We'll be at the National Narrow Gauge Convention this year as well with a whole line of product there. Alec, as it turns out, is a big narrow gauge modeler. So especially on the East Broadtop stuff, and that's going to be kind of highlighted at the narrow gauge convention this year. We'll be right outside that territory. So and we got a couple others. We'll be at Train Fest for sure this year because I think it's the year that we're doing that. So
I get to see you twice.
We get to see you twice. Yeah,
I'm terribly sorry for that. But yeah,
I'm not.
No, my wallet will be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. By that time, we'll definitely have some S scale stuff. More than just forklifts, which I know Mike just picked up. So.
Yeah, right. And then I guess there's a couple other questions. Well, let's take a look at the forklift here before we get moving.
I tell you what, that forklift, Luke Lemons showed me his HO scale one that he has, and it just blew me away the level of detail that are on those in HO. And I'm like, okay, I've got to get the S scale one. So I went and I bought it, and I'm like, oh my good Lord, this is ridiculous. The level of detail on that forklift is outstanding. And I know it's just a forklift. Everybody just thinks it's a forklift, but the thing is that's a forklift that isn't really available because is that based off of a Caterpillar forklift, or is it what kind of forklift is that?
I did know early on. Actually, if you look real hard at it, right there, I can't get this to focus. It's actually a Herman 500. Jason Miller, when he drew this up, it was right when our Facebook page hit 500 people, so that's why he called it that. But, I wouldn't have asked for that, but I guess I'm honored by it in a way.
No kidding, it does say that.
Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here first on the Second Section podcast. That is a one-of-a-kind Herman 500 forklift. So, and then there's
some other forks for that too. We want to put a paper clamp on there. As a BC modeler, a lot of the wood products are things that I need. So I personally need paper clamps, but we've actually had a lot of requests for them. So we'll do that for it as well at some point.
Oh, that's very cool.
It is such a cool model. I mean, so neat. And the guy just jumped out on me.
Yeah, he does that. I think he's been drinking.
Well, he's forklift certified.
Yeah,
forklift certified. Yes,
forklift certified. That's awesome. So you don't just have rolling stock and locomotive shells, and so you do vehicles and those types of things as well. Is that correct?
We do. In fact, I have a company that I work with called Northwestern Scale Models, and
Mhm.
one of the things that we're just getting ready to release is, again, if I can get this camera to focus, I don't like working with it, but I'm not coordinated enough either to go
Yeah.
backward, of course. But these are GRS switch machines, electric switch machines. There's at least 5 different versions of these: left-hand throws, right-hand throws, um,
Wow.
5As, 5Bs, 5Cs, 6A. I don't know, all kinds of different versions of them. And he's also making all the GRS signaling towers. So there's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
line size structures. We're looking at a bunch of signal stuff. Actually, this is one that Bridgeline Design developed. This is a DNA.
Oh,
Um, there's again. I wish I could get this to focus a little better because this was hard to.
sure. Oh, look at that. Look at the great detail on the platforms.
Holy
That is
cow,
it
Matt.
is incredible.
And they're hollow, so we can run wires down them. And we're working on figuring out how to attach the heads and run the wires, and coming up with a little bit of a kit for that because we don't want it to be impossible for people to handle them. But
Right.
so we're working on some of those things. Jason from Scale 3D, he's working on some. This is a Max 700. This is
Oh,
a
That's a cool truck.
Yeah, so we got a couple of those types of things. He's got just some cabs. Here's a Redding cab with the dual control stand. And unfortunately, I thought I had one laying here, but I don't. We just did cab interiors with the EMD dual control stands in it. They're really cool. They came out really, really
oh,
well. This is a new company that I'm working with called Bayview Junction. They're out of near Hamilton, Ontario, next to Bayview Junction. If you've seen Hunter Hewson and he did a PC fuel and sand truck, and this is what he used. So we're going to have these available. There's another little sand tank on this, but it seems to have rolled away or something. I don't see it at the moment, so I apologize.
parts
But
master got it.
yeah, it's they get around here, but um, so yeah, there's not just trains. Well, this has got stuff in it. Let me dump it. This is Gotham Rail.
Mm,
They do a bunch of stuff on their own, but he's asked me to print a couple pieces and add it to our line. This is a 20-foot open top container. So they do some awesome stuff. They have um, all kinds of MU stuff and small detail parts,
detail
beacon.
kits.
Yeah, yep. So, and those you can get, excuse me, direct from him, um, but they have some other stuff that we help get to
So
market as well.
so that's a question that I have. So you talked about some international I guess brands that you're working with. So let's say I'm living in Australia and um, I wanted to purchase a 3D Central item. Could we have Jason in Australia print it off to save on the shipping costs and time, or is it something that you typically those types of 3D Central branded things come from your shop and then get sent out? How does
So it
do you
depends
work
on
out
the
like
item
with
a
the
little bit.
affiliates? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Go ahead.
so we work real close with Caslo shops in Canada, and
Okay.
not that we don't we do with Jason in Australia as well, but
Yeah.
um, Caslo and John from Caslo and I have kind of a unique relationship where my my 3D Central items, only my cars, the Evans side slider, some of the bar double door cars and single door cars, and cool grain cars that we put out at the Springfield show.
Oh man.
I'll explain these just a little bit in a
I
moment.
like that.
So John can sell all of my 3D Central cars, but we kind of hold it at that with the other brands because each of those brands get a residual back to help with their design work on them. So if everybody's getting a little bit of a cut, it makes it so that nobody's really making any money. So,
Right.
and at the end of the day, it is a business. I mean, we certainly want to get it to as many people as we can, as easily as we can, but we got to kind of balance that out a little bit. So I sell and print all of John's designs in the United States, and John sells and prints all of the 3D Central designs in Canada. I know that Jason in Australia is selling his designs in Australia, but it'd be kind of the same thing with the other designs that we're doing.
Sure.
So now, we're working with Sarah in Austria. There really hasn't been a question about Europe yet, but we'll try to find some solutions for some of that. But in the meantime, we'll definitely ship anywhere in the world. So if anybody's looking for things, we'll definitely get it to them, and we'll try to do it in the most inexpensive way we can. But
okay. Yeah. And then, so there's been a myriad of questions about.
Oh, that's it.
I got. Well, I'm going to summarize it into one big question, because I'm getting. Can you make me this model? Can you make me this model? What about this one? What about this one off? So how do you handle I'm going to assume the constant flood of model requests? So what is your company's process for that?
So we don't really it's not that we don't do that. We don't do a lot of custom stuff on our own. What I can do with that, and what I often do with that, is say, okay, I've got 24 different designers. Most of them like to do what they model. So Bridgeline Design, he models the D&H. So he's going to do Northeastern stuff, a lot of D&H oriented stuff. Now he is doing the X54. Here's a brand new D&H bay window. This was a boxcar converted into a caboose. Now that you're zoomed in here, I'll get back to the X54 just so people can see that. So this not only with the X54, but since Alec and I are close, obviously we're brothers. So when we decided to do the X54, we realized quickly that the X53, the 50-foot car, is almost identical. So I said, well, if you're going to do the X54, why don't I do the X53? We'll be able to utilize some of the same design features. So I will be doing an X53. I don't like to announce stuff too far ahead of time, because I don't want people waiting. Oh, when are you gonna finally get that done? But we are definitely gonna do that. As far as doing a lot of custom stuff, what I'll try to do, and what I was getting at, was that I'll try to guide those to somebody that's like up their alley. We have a guy that just asked for Santa Fe signals, and I guided him to Northwestern because they do a lot of signaling and line side things. We've had guys that asked for cabooses. I know Alec is going to be doing some Penn Central cabooses that haven't been done before. Some won't get into exactly what yet, but
stay tuned.
What's that?
Stay tuned to 3D Central for that
announcement. But I don't have anybody to say, somebody comes to me and they ask, can you make me an XYZ? Well, that would require me to have a designer sitting with nothing else to do to say, okay, yep, I can do that. Let me get that to the designer. We'll get that done. There are some people who just, hey, I'm looking for a project. You got anything we can do? And I will try to, just direct those things to those people. I don't really have a lot of those designers. Most of the designers I'm working with already have something in the works. So there are companies that are that's all they do is they'll design anything you ask. That's not really what we are at the moment, but I am always looking for suggestions though. So I won't say don't ask me to do different things, because I would like to hear those suggestions. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, hey, you should do this. I've got these drawings. If you've got drawings, you're well on the way. If you've got 3D drawings that are print ready and you just need something printed, that's a better chance. I'll definitely look and say, okay, yep, I've got some production time. There might be a setup fee for that because I've got to support it. I'm not going to just print one. It'll probably take my third try till I get one that I'm happy with, and I'm pretty strict with that. So, but yes, we'll do a little bit of that. But to say, hey, you should make this, it's a little more challenging for me just to say, oh yeah, we'll get on that right away, because we've got literally hundreds of items in the works, so I got to fit that in.
So what's your average print time, Matt? Like I know for myself personally, I know like I've got a Mono X6K,
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's a decent household printer for myself. I mean, it's a good 6K printer. But when I'm doing my stuff, it's 6, 7, 8 hours because, of what it is, because of the number of layers.
37 hours.
Never mind. I'm not going to worry about my.
Everybody likes that question. It has to do with your print angles. It has to do with, am I going to print this straight up and down this way off the bill plate? Am I going to print it at an angle so that I can get rid of layer lines? There's a lot of that. So that's part of it. The build layers, as you say, the layer height is going to make a difference. I could also print that same item in about 18 hours. Probably not much less than that, but because of the angles that I print at, I could probably print it less. I'm just going to see more angles and stuff, or print lines and such.
Right.
My average, I have 2 machines that I use more than not. I have the Jupiters, but they're for the big items. I'm not going to include those in my average because they always take a long time. So that's just the nature of those machines. The 2 machines that I use are a Saturn II and a Saturn III. The Saturn II, the angles actually aren't as steep, so meaning that the final item when I print at an angle isn't as tall. It's a little shorter because my angle's a little less. But the Saturn III is at least twice as fast. So there's a lot of variables in there. Just short answer, my average is probably about 17 to 20 hours. So, and everybody's like, oh, well, how do you do all of that? And, you're not printing very often. I have 28.
28.
There you go. There's the answer to that question.
There's the answer right there. Yeah.
I don't mind if something takes a long time. My bigger concern is it printing well at that angle? If I can get a good print and it's 22 hours, then it's 22 hours. If I am taking 22 hours and I've got things that are waiting to be printed because those things take 22 hours, I'm going to 35 printers. I'm going to 45 printers. I'm already starting to hire people, so there's I got a little behind over the holidays here with first off, just new company, figuring things out, figuring the best and most efficient ways. These 3 shows, because I went to Cocoa Beach and then Springfield and then Timonium all within about a 5-week period. So a lot of things that I thought would be ready in time, just my learning curve put me back a little bit, and then the shows killed me. So I'm behind. Like Alex, D&H Cabooses here. Where do I got them? Here they are, right in front of me. Almost bit me. These are supposed to be out already. They're real close. I have everything reprinted again. Now I'm actually waiting on a few decals, but I've got almost everything completely ready. They should be printing this week, shipping this week. Most everything is printed. Here's a plywood version that I just knocked a cupola off of. Hold on.
There we go.
So there's the plywood version versus the original non-plywood version. Hard to see the ridges in there with the lighting and if I could focus on anything tonight.
Oh yeah, you're getting it a little bit. Oh yeah.
Now the one obviously is still very shiny because we haven't decaled it yet, but there we go. It's a little bit.
So we got one question here from Scott Thornton. He's asking, how is the stress level? That's a lot to deal with. How you faring out?
I learned a long time ago. There are days where it's stressful, but so I love Scott. Scott's a good guy. I've known him a long time, so he understands the life in general. But it's not as bad as I thought because I love what I'm doing. If you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life and all that.
Yeah, right.
That goes a long way. It always did before. There was days I think I was telling Andy either earlier today or earlier tonight at least. I was on the road for 25 days straight, a time or two. And actually, that particular trip, I met Scott Thornton the first time. Stayed at his house, in fact. So, so we've had some good heart to hearts about stress and all that. So I'm sure that's why he's asking. But it's not bad. It's tiring. I'm tired. I'm not stressed out. I'm just tired.
You just want to take a nap.
Tired.
Yeah, my
Amen,
average
brother.
bedtime lately has been 1 or 2 a.m. and I'm usually up by 6:30 to take my daughter to school. But I work from home. If I get her to school and I got everything else kind of moving, the printers are going, I can sit down for a few minutes and close my eyes in the late morning for an hour. I've learned not to get too comfortable when I sit down and eat lunch on my easy chair, but
That's a doomsday situation just waiting to happen.
When I started with ESU, it was out of actually the same space overall. And I was worried then that I don't know if I could work from home because, I'd be, I got all these honey-do lists or, I got this thing I want to do. I want to go work in the yard. I want to, whatever. And I never had that problem. My problem was always work was so close. I always felt guilty. And if I was doing something else, I always wanted to be out getting done what I needed to get done. So I still suffer from that a little bit, but I feel responsible if I've told somebody or they've already paid, I want to get it to them. So I'll do that first before I do a lot of other things. Not so much the family, the kids need something or, my wife needs something. Obviously we want to go spend time with family, but once they're in bed, that's when I get most of my work done.
So I was going to say then, and this ties into the question that Sparky 107 has is, when do you take time to print stuff for yourself? Do you weasel it into your production schedule?
For sure. The great thing about that is simply a lot of the stuff that my designers are working on are things that I want. So I actually just cleaned it up just to clean up out here before the Timonium show, but I had a wall of shame. And, those are the items that they have a print line or there's a stirrup that's broken off or something like that. Yeah. And those are the items I set back for me because I can fix those things for the most part. It's not something I feel comfortable selling, but, with a little bit of modeling, I can make it go away. So there are things that I definitely have that I've printed for me in this time. So. Now, have I built those things? That's a different question.
No. You have the blue tub of shame as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The models are collecting and piling up. That's good to hear. I'm not the only one then.
I try to fit some in, if I'm building something for a show to display it, I'll try to do that. This is a Caslo Shops Hawker Siddeley newsprint car. Now, these are very early prints. Before we learned a lot, these were ones that actually Alec printed. So you can see, and I'm not blaming Alec, but you can see the print lines.
Yeah, you can see the lines
angle there. So we've actually changed a lot of what we're doing so that we could get rid of that. And, that's the learning curve. So I wouldn't put anything out that looked like this today. At the time, I didn't know how to do any better early on. And, a lot of companies and a lot of small basement, guys that were starting with this, you would see this stuff all the time. And no one thought too much of it. It's just, that's part of the process. That's part of printing. Not anymore. In doing it all day long, I have the advantage that I get to do this all day long. I get to spend the time to really learn what's wrong, what can we alter to make that go away. And we've been able to do that for the most part. I mean, occasionally you'll still see a little bit of pull force on the body or something from the printing, but we've learned to angle things different, and we've learned to change our internal bracing so that you don't see that nearly as much. So for the most part now, that's starting to go away pretty good.
I mean, I'm holding this Evans Aldor, and like the first thing that popped in my head was the line from Christmas Vacation when, they're in the shopping mall and Chevy Chase turns to Russ and he goes, "You can't see the lines, can you?" And and that's like that's a mark of a good 3D print is that like on this one here you can't see the lines, and this is a really intricately detailed car where you have the door detail 3D printed in, which is crazy, by the way.
All
and then
rods separate.
Yeah, the rods and the door mechanism are just fantastic, and then you have the the end detail as well. And there, when I looked at it, I looked at it up and down. I put my machine square against it. The thing is dead square. Usually you get a little warping with some models. Not this one. This is a beauty. I mean, and I'm not saying it because obviously hashtag not sponsored, but this is fantastic. This is a very high class model. So
it'd be great to be able to handle one in S scale. I know what that is. I know exactly.
I had no idea you were going to say that about S scale. I was already just
had that one queued up.
I know very well what that's all about right there, and I tell you what, I am stoked.
2-bay?
Yeah, 3,000 cubic foot 2-bay hopper.
Oh my god!
Yep, yeah. These are he's working with somebody that I know very well. I don't know if you want me to say it or not.
That's okay. Yep, we've gone live with it. So this is Ben Scale, Ben Truesdale, or I'm sorry, Ben Central.
Ben Central.
Ben Central.
Yep.
So Ben's done some excellent design work on these cars. They're really, really nice. All see-through walkways. There we go. First thing I've got in focus all night.
Hey, that looks real good. Look at the grading detail on the brake platform or just on the walkways. That's incredible.
Yeah, these are going to be this is like a game changer type of car for 164 scale S scales. And then the 4750 Pullman standard car that he's got right there. That is also just, I tell you what, these are two cars that are desperately needed, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Ben did such a great job. I have some of his. I have quite a few of his own early production.
You know what's
I can't wait to see how yours come out, Matt, because I'm planning on getting several of yours.
We're working on a number of things, including trucks. I'm going to source some 36-inch wheels. I guess that's been a big question in S scale, is good 36-inch metal wheels.
Yeah.
And there's been some attempts and some successes in that. So we have a wheel source already. So we're gonna do a version of our own, and might even work with Matt Gadinsky and some others to try to get some of this into the mainstream. Matt's a good friend of mine, so we can work in some of that. We're gonna be doing some stuff for him in the future too. So there's S scale. Is about to wake up, as far as I'm concerned. There's such an open market there. There's so many things that can be done. I tease we're not going to do any S scale. I'd be crazy not to do S scale, to be honest with you. So
I've always said
the awakening.
I think I told you at the Chicago RPM, Matt, when we talked about that. I think I told you, I said S scale is like the Wild West of the hobby right now. Yeah. It is like it's open for anybody to try to tame it, and it is like the open wilderness of the hobby. It's just and I can't wait. I just can't wait to see what you guys come up with. My wallet is already screaming.
Oh my gosh. What is
Look at
this?
This is awesome.
No way. What? No way.
Focus a little more here.
Oh my goodness.
Come on.
Look at the great detail on that. Come on. This is unreal. This is not fair. Every time. So I'm going to have to figure out a different way. This is amazing. This model is what is this for me who does not know?
So this is a Boston and Maine Yankee Flyer.
Oh my gosh.
So it's, everybody was, is that the Burlington Zephyr? It's similar, it's in the family, but this particular one is the Yankee Flyer. This is the new designer that I'm working with. This thing's awesome, actually. It's really, really well done. This will have a full interior, and it'll be a mechanized item. Again, with my my sources, I've been able to work. It just so happens that I have access to about 250 or more Stewart mechanisms, originally from the old Stewart
Wow. Yeah.
Canyon motors and trucks. They're really, really smooth running. So this will be full DCC sound. We're going to look at all of it with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that one will be fun. This is a really neat one too. I'm excited for this.
Oh,
An item that I've really wanted. In fact, when I was at Bowser, I wanted to do this as a ready to run item.
oh,
This is the
cool.
Wabash, NW, Ann Arbor, Streamline Cupola Caboose.
Oh,
This
it's
is Carroll Avenue Shops. This is actually real close. We're just finalizing the etchings, and then this will be going to market. I'm sorry about my focus, guys.
no,
Oh, that's awesome.
no. We're getting a real good look at it. Regardless, I mean, it's not perfect, but this is fantastic.
Where am I looking? I thought I had the end cage for that, but
Ah,
Hey,
am I-
Matt, I got one question for. Oh no, come on, seriously? That's O scale, right?
this one's O scale. This is from Bayview Junction again. So he models in S and O, and we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff through him. A little bit more modern stuff, but this is just the truck.
oh no.
And
I'm
then,
done.
Oh,
I'm out. I quit. I quit. That's it.
oh, that is beautiful.
SW 1200 RS, right?
correct. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
he nailed it.
Now this is a first print, so I'm getting some bad print lines here.
Still,
This is I know exactly what it's from. This is pull forces from this giant square piece that would have been coming off the build plate. So that translates all the way up. So it's just something you print once and you realize, oh, why did I do it that way? I know exactly how to fix that, so that'll go away. But this will be premiered at the Chicago O Scale Show. He may be doing that in S scale. We've got to figure out some mechanism stuff for that in S, but in O scale, that'll just drop onto an Atlas SW9. The side frames are made to just fall right over the Atlas side frames. So, or take those side frames off, put it on the Atlas truck, use their pickups, everything. But we're definitely
crazy?
looking at mechanizing some S scale, including an S scale SD40 and 40-2. I don't know if that's interesting or not, but
You should have
What?
seen Mike's face.
Wait, what?
yeah,
What?
I've actually seen the drawings on that. That's coming along. So same guy that's doing.
Are you trying to give me a heart attack?
I didn't know where that heart was going there for a second, but I'm glad it was heart attack.
Hey, I have a question.
Definitely not an on.
That is awesome. I tell you what, that is going to be. I know for a fact that a 40-2 and a 40 are things that have been screamed for in 1/64th S scale. But I do have a.
You probably know Robin, Mike. I know he knows your name at least, if not, you guys probably have talked. But he, so Robin is also doing the SW1200, and we've got some things working here. There's a lot of stuff. He's got a bunch of other freight cars, some cylindrical hopper type stuff. There's all kinds of things going on. So
he is.
I am not sleeping tonight now. Hey, I do have a question. I do have an actual serious question. All joking aside, you keep on bringing up mechanisms and things like that, and there are stresses and tolerances that the typical modeler probably doesn't understand about why things are built or designed a certain way with their mechanisms. Yeah. Have you done stress testing on mechanical not necessarily gears, but
I don't say we won't do gears, but right now we're not looking to do this in gears. We'll get our own.
But the motor parts that go, the connecting portions to go to the trucks, because those could be 3D printed, right? I mean,
they theoretically could be, yeah. There's, as you say, that's something that's always in the works. We're always testing with it. I'm not saying we're there yet with that. We've got some ideas, but in most of those cases, we'll use some other type of hardened mechanical fastener, whether it be a screw or a pin or something, to make sure that you don't have to worry about, the strength of the resin. As we did say, over time, things could get brittle, and we don't want to have that as a problem later on that we're having to solve. So,
yeah. Because I mean, it is like you say, the resin can get very brittle if it's not handled the right way. I mean, and taking care.
We are doing trucks in multiple scales. This again, I keep putting this down. I should just hold on to it. This is done by Plate C. I'm gonna
Yeah, those are beautiful.
This particular one, and I'm not going to do a good job holding it, but this is a D&H truck for the D&H cabooses. It even has the D&H casting marks on it, and that's one of the neat things about doing this in 3D is you can do stuff that are in low numbers. Again, as we've mentioned, that you'd never see in plastic. You very rarely put a railroad casting mark in something in POM or in injection molded plastic. You want it to be more generic because you got to run thousands of them. Here, I mean, I could print one and it'd be all right. But yeah.
No, that's.
I'll do a shop tour, but let's just quickly look at one last. Oh, I got a couple more things. I'll keep moving though because.
That's cool.
This is a SP Santa Fe copper ore car. This will be coming probably summertime. We got to solve a few things. Talking about mechanical or some. The other thing you got to worry about is weight. We give you weights in all the car kits. These we're actually looking at possibly using pewter for the bolsters to be able to provide weight there. I got a couple ideas on how we might do that a little differently. We're still doing some testing. That's why that's not going to be rushed out. There's an SPBN Apache wood chip car that we're working on too. That's getting closer and closer. This is another brand new item. We just announced this past weekend. This is a 100-ton Ortner wood chip hopper.
Oh man!
So very, very, very first print. This came off the printer on Friday morning, about 3:30 in the morning. I quickly primed it. You can see there's all kinds of marks on there, print lines and stuff there. Ignore all of that. I just wanted to get something to show. It's not done by any means, but
that's beautiful.
Oh,
is that based off of the Southern prototype or similar?
This one's Western Maryland. There's trying to remember now. There's a couple different roads. There's a couple different versions: high brake wheel, low brake wheel. Actually, this one I have both brake wheels on this one because I forgot to print the other end. I did both brake wheel ends and not the non-brake wheel. It was a long day. But this car's not going anywhere. You set the brakes on this, you're set.
That's it. Double B.
So, these cars I did for Springfield. These are my New England release. These are General American double door Banger and Rustic car.
Wow.
Again, you got the door rods as separate items. Got your minor brake detail on there that I'll never get in focus, so I don't know why I'm bothering. But
you're doing good.
We did these as a roof walk version and a non-roof walk version. They're the same car. Basically, we just made it easier to add a roof walk if you were going to do it. So this way, you didn't have to put this on as a separate piece or try to remove it as the railroads did when they got rid of the roof walks. So after these cars were used in service for a number of years, I'd say late 80s, very early 90s, they went through a rebuild program and they turned them into single doors. So here's a single door version. And again, okay, that's not so bad. So here and here, you can see the gussets for the double doors. But they use one of the doors and then turn it into a single door. On some of them, now the ones without the roof walks, they just left them as normal box cars. Some of them that still had the roof walks, they turned them into grain cars. They had some service. I think it had to do with cereal, if I'm not mistaken. They loaded them with grain and in Portland, I guess, and took it into wherever they were needing it. And then later in life, they stopped using the grain doors and turned these into, they ended up using them in a service for tapioca. They were
What?
giant bags of tapioca. So,
Pudding.
Tapioca?
yeah,
Pudding.
yeah, bulk tapioca.
Wow.
Gross.
So,
Ah!
neat card. Yeah, I wouldn't catch me eating it, but it's really hard to see. But even the there you go. You can kind of
Well,
see.
the
Oh yeah,
head,
look at
the grab handle
irons
for the
on
head.
there.
Yeah,
The
is there.
handles.
So
That is
these
amazing.
actually moved around too. So actually, this one's put together so poorly you can probably see them. These are separate. You can put these where they needed to be because the different cars they had them in different places. So we wanted to keep that separate on this version. But the big door always stayed the same if it was a grain car. So and then these cars always got roof walks because you had to be able to get up there and access those hatches. Um, so these cars are readily available. The double door cars I did is kind of a special run for the show at Springfield. Um, I have a feeling that those cars will be made ready to run. It's probably more than just a feeling, but um, in time, it's probably going to be a number of years. But I didn't want to flood the market with these, so I did a short run. I kind of promised the manufacturer that I was doing them for because they were a little
Yeah.
concerned that I was taking a little of their market with them on a car that didn't have a huge market. So I work with everybody like that. I don't want to. I'm not out there to get anybody. I'm out there to complement what they're doing with other stuff.
Right.
So, but this will be a high end car when it comes out. But in the meantime, we've got a high end kit that'll hold you over, and hopefully won't look too bad next to the other one when it comes out. I still do have some of those available. So if you are looking for some, contact me directly. The double doors will likely not be on the website. The single doors will be. And I've not mentioned this car and anything else other than having them at Springfield and a small picture on the website or the Facebook page one day. And they've sold pretty well. So I don't have too many left. So anybody that wants them, just email us directly.
Yeah.
That's just at info@3dcentral.com. That's on the website, so you can find it. But
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
once I've had etchings on those, though, they're pretty well done. So
we'll have all those details again. I've been plastering the 3D Central into the chat tonight. And what are we bringing up another model here? What are we looking at?
this is a 66-ton Western Maryland fish belly. They stretched these cars just a little bit to make them, a little higher capacity from the old 50-ton fish bellies. This was released by Plate C this past weekend.
Cool.
This is a two-piece print. You got your underframe and your body end cages. We'll see some more of these when we do the shop tour here in just a moment, which I think is next.
Okay.
These cars have sold awesome. That's probably the most selling car I've had so far, and I've only been selling them for about 4 days. So, but I released it in Western Maryland territory in Timonium. So,
Yeah, you were right in the heart of WM country.
Yep. So you guys want to do a little shop tour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I don't want
What
to.
about? Yeah, that's it. That's it. Forget it. Just kidding.
Well,
Just kidding.
let's see if I can figure out how to log in on my phone.
Okay.
And then we'll
Oh, look at that! It popped right up.
Yep. And then we'll mute them so we don't have the Lou Gehrig echo going
so
on.
you want to see my mess here of all the little pieces I've got laying around? So
that's high in the running for Workbench of the Week. Matt, I'm going to flip you onto your phone audio.
Yep.
So if you wanted to mute your computer one, so that way we don't get the double echo. Let me see if I can do that. No. Let's see here.
there you go.
Try that one.
Let me do one more thing. I know what's going on.
Okay.
No batting.
There you go. Oh, it's the speaker. All right, let's see here. Pull them back.
Okay, now we got it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Let's see
All
the
right.
magic, as Ron Stanek says here. I'll bring you up on the big screen so we can see the shop here.
Holy cow.
So this is 3D Central, at least in the shop side of it at the moment. So I mentioned 28 printers. 12 of them are brand new as of Friday. They showed up. They're actually not even in the shop yet. Well, two of them are. I just there's one brand new one still in the box, and I got one out earlier, which I've not even completely set up yet. But so those are eventually going to go here. As I think I mentioned, I have somebody I just brought on that's going to be helping doing packing and shipping. So they're going to get their own office, and this stuff's getting moved out of here so that we have some more space. And then all of the new printers will go here, and then probably wrap around a little bit as we grow. My big ugly box pile, so ignore my mess.
There you go.
So I do have a few machines running right now, but they've started an hour or two. Today was maintenance day. It's been a little while since things have been running, and I wanted to go through and do some preventative maintenance, do some lubing on the Z-axis and the bars. I'll lift the lid off here so we can see what's going on one of the printers that's moving. But these are all Saturn IIs with the red cases. These are a couple of the Saturn IIIs. Every other new machine that I got is a Saturn III. So these are a much faster machine. I try to utilize every drop of resin at $20 a bottle. You don't want to waste too much of it when you're going through currently without the new machines, 50 bottles a month. So
oh my goodness.
And I've recently just become an Elegoo dealer. So I can now buy that just a little bit cheaper. So I have nothing to do with VAT Band. So VAT Band is basically it's a thermal heat tape that I wrap around the vat itself. And when you're printing, you want your resin to be warm. A lot of people, including myself, print the air around the vat, and that translates to the liquid. I have learned by picking up one of these VAT bands, and actually I now have a bunch of VAT bands, but I have learned that it is much better and more consistent to heat the resin rather than the air. So I am now converting just about everything, including all the new ones, to VAT bands. So as we move around, and we'll come back to that machine.
Matt, I have one of those myself. I've yet to put it on my vat. I'm really excited.
I love it. I really do love them. They're just it's handy. So this is how I started. I was going to make I did make 3 IKEA enclosures. Each of them holds 2 printers. They are heated. I've got a little mini heater in here. There's a computer fan in the back to cycle the air, and then this just cycles back and forth through there. There's a temperature gauge that turns the heater on and off, and I can maintain a certain temperature with that. These are FDM printed. It's just a little USB stick port on the face rather, because where you got to hook this up is way back here, and it's hard to reach your hand back there. So we thought, well, we'll do it a little bit different, make our own design, and put it where I can reach it. So as you can see, these holes up here, this goes to PVC pipe, and I've got a duct or an inline duct fan that draws air out. And we don't want to draw out too much because that's going to pull out all of the heat. We just want some negative pressure so that it pulls out the odors. I actually don't even have it on at the moment, though I should. But I also have an air quality meter down here or in here because resin is toxic. You don't want to be breathing too much of it in a day. So if I see those levels are getting up because I've got a lot of doors open or I'm doing a lot of cleaning, it's usually the alcohol. I use all 99% isopropyl alcohol for cleaning. If that's moving a lot, then I get out of here for a little while because it does stink. But we'll look at the cleaning stations in a moment. So here's a printer that's going. You can see my heater back there is holding about 86. Now here I'm heating the air. I keep this all closed while I'm working, and it works and it stays consistent. But the VAT bands are just better in my opinion. So
sure.
And what I have found is that the Saturn IIs work great in here. The Saturn IIIs actually are a little too hot. So they'll actually heat this up on their own to about 105, 106 degrees. And while that would really not be too bad necessarily for the printing, I worry about overheating the machine, not being able to cool itself off and stuff. I don't want the lifespans to be too short on them.
Right.
I do have actually 3 machines right now that have bad screens on them. 2 of them went bad a little while ago. I just got the screens today, so I'll be changing those. That's these 2 machines. They're just not being used at the moment. But they'll be back in service tomorrow. And then in the meantime, I had another one go bad. So they do wear. Now, that sounds bad. Oh, I got 3 bad ones. You got to remember that my machines run 24 hours a day. So they get a lot more use than most machines. These are my Jupiter machines. So, and I deliberately left one in so that you can see there's the O-scale boxcar and how I support things a little bit. So
That's awesome.
These machines are quite large. The camera's probably not doing it real good justice here, but there's room for another one down there, which is soon on its way.
Nice.
Some baker's racks for different projects as I go. So this is my cleaning and curing station. Desperately needs to be refreshed right now. The dirty washes are pretty dirty at the moment. That was left over from tomorrow. It's the one thing I didn't get a chance to do today. I'm actually waiting on some alcohol that should show up here in the morning. So here's some of Adam's from plate C. These are the 66-ton Western Maryland fish bellies. Some of them sitting here ready to go. Just pulled them off a little while ago. Started some new prints. So that's also what's printing in here right now.
Matt, there was a question that came in earlier, and I neglected to bring it up, but it had to do with isopropyl alcohol and the models themselves. So if, let's say, we were to print and then paint it, and then I didn't like the paint job, could I strip it in isopropyl alcohol without damaging the model too much?
That's an excellent question that I honestly don't have the answer for. I've never done it. I to be honest with you, I don't screw up my paint jobs, so I've never had to do that.
What a flex!
Wow!
What a flex!
No, I'm sorry.
That was awesome.
A lot of paint jobs. Don't get me wrong. No, honestly, I don't know. I've honestly never tried to strip one. I mean, you could try it. I'll be honest. I've had things that I have taken and putting in the vat or for the clean. Usually, I do like 10 minutes in the dirty wash and then another 5 in the clean wash. That can vary on how clean the clean wash is. Over time, they get dirtier, and then you need a little more. If your dirty wash is really dirty, you want to keep it in there 10. If it's fresh and not quite as dirty, you don't really need that. So that's all a little variable, but I've forgotten about them. I put them in there. They all have their own timers on them, but I go into my office and I go to support something. Next thing you know, it's been in there for 4 or 5 hours, and I come back up and everything's fine. So I don't think it would hurt it too badly. One thing I have found is a trick, and I've been told, I've never tried this, but I've been told that it works. If you wash it, let it in the alcohol, cure it, put it back in the alcohol afterwards, you'll get some flex back, and then it'll kind of stay flexible. So I don't know, something to try. It's rumor, hearsay. I saw it on the internet. It must be true. I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm willing to try it sometime when I have some time to try it. So, as you can see here, I have an island range hood over my alcohol, though, because I come out and I don't really notice the resin, the Elegoo resin that I use. To me, it's not that bad, but the alcohol can get to you. If you're doing a lot of washing and cleaning and in and out of the alcohol, it gets pretty strong. So this range hood actually runs 24 hours a day on low, and if I'm out here washing and stuff, I'll turn that on high.
and it works pretty good. But just having it on low, I'm always cycling the air in the shop. So, you know, I showed this. I was on the Mike Rose podcast, and I was showing this guy's got some kick out of it. But I built this room originally so that I could go out the front of it. The wall you're looking at is actually where the garage door was, and it's just a false wall. So, that garage door can still open up above, and there's this rubber sheet on either side of the wall that it goes through, and it works okay. But in the wintertime, the wind blows against that side of the house, and I got to keep it pretty warm in here for printing. So I've sealed that up for this time of year. But just something neat feature of the room. My drying rack. Usually I'll dirty wash, clean wash, let it dry completely, and then we'll go into the cure stations. I actually have a brand new one down here. I'm getting ready to set up, just because I've got more volume out here now, and I need to have another cure station. But there's just a turntable with UV light inside, and it depends on the item how long. I know that people are, well, how long do you do this? How long do you do that? It really varies by the item that I do. I gotta make some new ones, some custom cure stations and wash stations for the O scale stuff. They only fit the commercial ones at the moment are only fitting a certain size. I'm getting bigger prints, so they haven't really made anything big enough yet. I'll do something custom. So I got some ideas on that though. But that's essentially it. The room is I don't even know. It's 30 by 25, something like that. But yeah, that's it.
So just to reiterate, this is your full-time gig then, right?
It is. Yep. We'll go to the other camera here.
Sure. And I'll bring your other audio back up here when you get all set up. There we go. There we go. Very good.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't even know what to say. Like that. First of all, Matt, this is a super, super good tour. I mean, you got a really awesome shop. I have shop envy first and foremost. But here you may want to turn your mic up just a bit there on your end. So, but
how's that?
Let's see if we can't pull. Kick that one out of there. There. Now that's much better. But that just woke up all the viewers that had dozed off.
Hold on, guys.
There.
Okay, now I got you back. I'm sorry.
There we go. No, that's all right. That's all right. The production quality on this show is always first rate. So don't worry about that. But it's just, this is incredible, Matt, that you've been able to stand up this business and really put together a fantastic product, as well as do a service for some other 3D printers that want to get started and get rolling. I think this is amazing. So, Mike, I just didn't. I guess Matt, I should. Not to be rude, but did you have any other things that you wanted to bring up about 3D Central this evening before Matt and I, or Mike and I, go into this crazy tirade about all the amazing things we saw?
I just want to thank you guys for having me on, and I appreciate it. And you've shared enough info on how to reach me, but if anybody has any questions on stuff, feel free to reach out. And we're getting to the point where we're getting pretty busy, but we'll still try to work with people as best we can, and we're definitely willing and already are growing. So both in staff and obviously in machinery. We this room we're growing very quickly. Like I said, we're starting to outgrow it a little bit already. Was able to do everything, but in the spring we built a steel building, and it was supposed to be just to store all the stuff that was in this garage, but I have a feeling we're going to be finishing it off pretty soon. That's sort of the plan already, that we're going to move to that building, and then we can double our space pretty quickly. And
Hey, during the shop tour, while we were walking around, me being a detailing kind of guy, I noticed Eligoo, Soraya Tech, I think I saw a couple bottles of any cubic in there someplace.
Yep.
Do you have, now you said you're an Elegoo guy, right? How do you find the differences between the resins when they're coming out in the print? Because there are differences in them.
Oh yeah.
Like are some better for doing certain things than other things are?
Sure.
And do you lean towards a certain type, or?
I tend to use the Elegoo 8K for most body prints, things like that. I've tinkered with window glass. Not happy with it. There's people out there that would probably be pretty happy with what I've been getting, but I'm not happy with it yet. So,
Right.
But I've got some other ideas for that, so you'll see that shortly. But don't have taco sauce, no. I don't think I could print hot ring, but no, so I did some research on the best clear because I am doing some window glass and some projects. Alex cabooses have window glass in them. Even in the instructions, it's good. It's just not great, and I'm looking for great in everything that we do. So we're going to provide it in what I've printed, but we're giving options. You may want to try this or this if you're not satisfied with what we're providing. We got some ideas on how to do that coming up, though. The other thing is flexibility. So we're doing some rubber air hoses on the Plate C flat cars. We figured out how to do that pretty well, and I've got some other ideas as we get into larger scale. Some of that even becomes easier. In HO scale, they're pretty small. One of the things with the rubber air hoses, I'm finding a lot of the flexible resins aren't truly black, so you still have to paint it a little bit. So I got some concerns on that as far as paint sticking to it, just because it's flexing. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to paint Kato handrails. They're so slippery and things like that. But this does have a little texture to it, so it might actually hold up better than I'm expecting it to. But so far, so good. I've been kind of, you can roll it around in your fingers, and it seems to be holding. But it's just new, so I have to try that a little bit more. But what else? I guess to go back to your question, I prefer the Elegoo 8K and the Soraya Tech. Soraya Tech is a good resin too. If I wasn't using the Elegoo, just because that's what I started with and I've gotten it to work really well, so I've stuck with it. But I know a lot of people are having really good results with Soraya Tech, so that would be
that's what I started using. I'm going to it, I should say, because I went from any cubic to Soraya Tech, and I'm excited to see the results on it.
And it's a great resin. It really is. As I said, if I wasn't already just kind of in bed with all of the Elegoo stuff, I'd be working with Soraya Tech.
Hey, at least you're honest, right?
Hey, right. Yeah,
you can print. I mean,
you got to dance with who you brought, right?
That's right. There was one question as we were looking at the Plate C stuff. How was the durability? So, like, I got some pretty, I guess, poor dexterity with my brat fingers that I have, and
well,
so
he's
like
from Wisconsin, brat fingers.
Yeah, brat. I got these brat fingers, right?
Greasy meat hands.
Greasy meat hands here, and so when we're putting wheel sets in and out of those Plate C trucks, do you have to be pretty careful with them, or are they fairly durable?
More so than a Delrin or PLM truck for sure.
Yeah.
But again, I get them out of the machine. I give them a light cure, and then I prime them paint them black immediately. So they're going to hold a little bit of flex because there's really no way that the UV light can continue to get to them. But I mean, I've been doing it quite a while. Now we provide wheel sets with all of those trucks already, and they're in there by the time you get them. So
they're in them.
For the most part, you don't really ever have to flex them out, but it's all code 88 wheels, so it's
the nice scale the scaled treads and all that. I was looking at some of the, and this is just to kind of brag up Plate C a little bit, but on the website, yeah, you can see he's doing a live demo here, and then there it goes.
Yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. But the thing that I thought was really neat was the engraving on the side frames of the trucks.
Oh, he's done
just
it. Adam is a great designer. He really is.
Yeah.
It's a day job, and then he does it for this, and all of his stuff is top notch.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll kick it over to Mike here for final questions. But I did want to get the section crew an opportunity here, so we're getting up to about the 2-hour mark here, and then some final questions for Matt here, and then we'll bring it all together and tie down for the night here. So Matt can get back to his 3-hour shift before he goes to bed.
That's right. Yeah, we got 3 hours to go.
Yeah. So Mike, any thoughts on this evening? I should have got you a bib.
You should have. Yeah. Did you know about some of this stuff, Andy? It just didn't tell me.
I saw some of the stuff. You must have went to the can before the show started, and I saw some of the stuff, and Matt made a comment, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is gonna put him in the grave. This is gonna put Tag in the grave.
I tell you what, it's Matt. Honestly, this is so exciting. I mean, I'm just speaking personally, selfishly. I can't wait until the S-scale stuff starts coming out of those printers. I think you're going to be very surprised to see exactly how ravenous the market is going to end up being. I don't use those words lightly. I know there's a lot of talk about a lot of things, and that is going to be an amazing boost to this. I was looking at the comments. If these come out in S scale, I might dabble in this. I want to do, I'm looking at, I can get this now and blah, blah, blah. People are excited for it. The things in HO scale that you're doing are just incredible. I've talked to Matt Gadinsky already secretly on the side. So I know what his little project is that I have been hushed about. And that is going to be amazing. And I can't wait to see how that turns out with you. It is going to be, what you're doing is awesome. And I think I can't wait to see more products from all the scales. I know there's some guys in here that mentioned N scale.
Yeah. We will be doing more N scale. Admittedly, I'm not an N scale guy. I struggle with it a little bit, in dexterity again. But I definitely want to do some N scale, and I think a lot of the stuff that we're doing, we can scale down pretty easily. Every time you scale anything, you have to make some adjustments, your handrails and whatnot. But I really see some potential in N as well. We are doing a little bit. Some of the line side structure stuff from Northwestern, that's definitely being done in N, and there'll be others, a lot more actually.
Is it easier to scale up or down?
I don't know. Either way, no matter what, you're going to have to make adjustments. I don't know if the one's necessarily easier per se, but if anything, probably down. But I don't know. I could be. You know what? Again, I'm not a designer, so I'm not making those changes. So I'm really not a good one to say. But, it's easier for me to have it done either way because I'm not doing it.
Right.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to get a second job. These shows are becoming costly for me. Like while you guys were talking, I was starting to thumb through Matt's website and I'm going, oh no, I could use those wood chip hoppers. That BC caboose looks awesome. That could look great for the Mascoutin Valley as my caboose, because I already did a high vision. And I'm just thinking, yep, this is going to be bad for me. This is going to be real bad for Andy. So I gotta I gotta say, Matt, this is fantastic. This first of all, taking the time and sharing all that with us this evening, going through the process, going through, essentially how you got started with it all, and then, showing us the I guess the inner workings of 3D Central. This is very impressive. For you to get, stood up and out to market as quick as you did, this is really incredible. So hats off to you. I just, from an administrative note, again, for those who joined late, all of the contact information for 3D Central, that's in the show notes. I've been peppering the list tonight, the chat list here tonight, with his links. So make sure you check it out. It's not just the few items that we showed here. There's a ton of stuff out there on his website. The Plate C stuff is amazing. He's got 6 packs of those fish belly hoppers available, so you can get a whole train spun up. This is, again, bad news for me, but and then the forklifts, the Herman 500. That seems that we've managed to get a few of those out the door this evening. So, Matt, any closing thoughts on the stuff we covered tonight, and before we tie down?
I say this as humbly as I can. We're just getting started. So there are so many things that I've got in the back of my mind. There's so many conversations that I've had already with designers and just end users. Like, what if we could do this? And my wheels are turning so hard to try to figure out what's next from this. And I don't know. There's some things, if we can make it work out, are going to be really, really cool. So, so keep an eye on things, and not just for sales. It's just for I'm a modeler just like you guys. I'm not a CEO. Yes, I own this, and yes, I ran ESU, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not a guy that's going to sit in a desk somewhere and not care about trains. I do this because it's my passion, it's my hobby, and I do it because I want to see what I can do for my own modeling. So, that's always how I've done all this. And I watched, we got Kevin Tolley out there from the steel mill stuff and the grain modeling that he does, Gotham Rail. There's some excellent 3D printers out there, Mac Rail, Wallace. There's a ton of them out there that are doing some awesome, awesome work. A lot of us are looking to collaborate together, do little things the greatest thing about this is that we're all a community. Nobody's looking to step on anybody's toes. No one's looking to take business or, I'm going to rush to get that done first. Maybe in the back of our minds, we're kind of hoping because, it's a business. But at the end of the day, we're all doing this together to better the hobby. So that's what I love about this hobby as a whole, whether it's 3D printing or, sound decoders or, when I worked for ESU, I was friends with George at Soundtracks. We are all a community to make the modeling better, and the rising tide raises all ships. So
it's no longer a cottage industry anymore. It really has progressed past that, really.
That is a fantastic sentiment to end on, Matt. So again, first of all, thank you for taking the time. You are welcome back. You have a standing invitation back on the second section. If you want to come back and talk about any of your new releases, by all means, you're more than welcome. We just absolutely love the enthusiasm that you have for the hobby and the dedication of the quality, because it shows with the product that you're putting out. So I do want to have one administrative note here for the section crew. Mike and I talked it over in the background. I think we're going to do a Saturday show, Brew with the Crew. So we're going to do short line of the show. We're going to do locomotive of the show and a what's on your workbench this Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll get it kicked off. We'll get a couple of beers down here and we'll just hang out and talk about trains.
After this, I'm going to need a lot more than just beer, man.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go lay down, take a cold shower.
Yeah.
This one got the ticker going pretty good. So,
yeah.
And again, it was a lot of fun. That was the other thing too. You were a fantastic guest, so certainly do appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate having me.
And again, like Humanity Junction says, hit the thumbs up, show the appreciation, and tell your friends about this and 3D Central. So For myself, for Mike, for Matt, and the section crew here, thank you again, and we'll see you guys on Saturday. Good night, everyone.
Right.
Night.